Imagine waking up tomorrow to find a hole so massive punched through our planet that you could see straight through to the other side. The oceans are draining into an endless void, cities are collapsing into the abyss, and gravity itself has gone haywire. This isn't science fiction. This is what would actually happen if Earth had a giant hole through its core. And the reality is far more terrifying than you might think. Before we dive into the chaos, we need to understand what we're dealing with. When we say a big hole in Earth, we're not talking about a crater or a sinkhole. We're talking about a tunnel that goes completely through our planet, from one side to the other. A hole so deep that if you dropped a stone into it, the fall would take over 40 minutes before it reached the other side. To put this in perspective, the Earth's diameter is nearly 13,000 kilometers. That's like stacking over 1,400 Mount Everests on top of each other. Now, the first thing that would happen is absolutely catastrophic. The moment this hole appears, the structural integrity of our entire planet would be compromised. Think of Earth like a massive sphere held together by its own gravity and the strength of its layers. Punch a hole through it, and you've created a weak point that would trigger geological chaos on a scale we've never witnessed. The crust around the hole would immediately begin to collapse inward. We're talking about trillions of tons of rock, metal, and magma suddenly losing their support structure. But here's where it gets even worse. Our planet's outer core is made of liquid iron and nickel, spinning and churning at temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. This movement creates Earth's magnetic field, which protects us from deadly solar radiation. A hole through Earth would disrupt this delicate system. The liquid core would start pouring into the hole like water through a drain. Without our magnetic field, solar winds would strip away our atmosphere within years, making Earth as barren as Mars. The gravitational effects would be absolutely mind-bending. Right now, Earth's gravity pulls evenly in all directions toward the center. But with a massive hole, gravity near the opening would become dangerously uneven. Objects, and even people near the edge, would experience strange pulling forces in multiple directions. If you stood at the rim of this hole, you wouldn't just feel the pull downward. You'd feel lateral forces trying to pull you toward the edges of the hole itself. The entire region around the opening would become a death zone, where normal physics no longer applied in familiar ways. Let's talk about what happens to our oceans. Earth holds about 1.4 billion cubic kilometers of water. If a hole opened up, especially if it intersected with an ocean, we'd witness the most spectacular and terrifying waterfall in existence. Millions of gallons per second would pour into the void, creating a vortex that would be visible from space. The water wouldn't just fall straight down either. As it descended, it would heat up from friction and pressure, turning into superheated steam by the time it reached the mantle. This steam would shoot back up through the hole like a planetary geyser, creating storms and weather patterns never before seen on Earth. The atmospheric consequences would be equally devastating. Air would rush into the hole, creating winds of unimaginable speed. We're talking about hurricanes that make Category 5 storms look like gentle breezes. The air pressure differences would create a permanent storm system around the hole, with winds potentially reaching thousands of kilometers per hour. Anything not bolted down within hundreds of kilometers would be sucked toward the opening. And because air is being constantly pulled in, the atmospheric pressure across the entire planet would begin to drop, making it harder to breathe everywhere on Earth. Now here's something most people don't consider. What happens on the other side? If the hole goes completely through Earth, it has two openings. Everything that falls in doesn't just disappear. Assuming it survives the journey through thousands of kilometers of crushing pressure and extreme heat, it would eventually emerge from the other side. But here's the fascinating part. Due to gravity and momentum, objects falling through such a hole wouldn't just pop out and float away. They'd shoot out like a cannon, fly up into the air on the other side, then fall back down and through the hole again, oscillating back and forth like a pendulum until friction eventually brought them to rest at Earth's center. The seismic activity would be apocalyptic. Creating a hole through Earth would be like triggering every earthquake that's been waiting to happen all at once. The stress on tectonic plates would cause them to shift violently. Volcanoes that have been dormant for thousands of years would erupt simultaneously. New fault lines would crack open across every continent. We'd see magnitude 10 earthquakes, a level that doesn't even exist on our current scale because nothing that powerful has ever been recorded. Entire mountain ranges would crumble. Ocean floors would buckle and rise, creating tsunamis that would dwarf anything in recorded history. But perhaps the most haunting aspect is what would happen to life on Earth. The immediate area around the hole would be instantly sterilized by heat, radiation, and atmospheric chaos. But the effects would spread globally within hours. The disruption to ocean currents and atmospheric circulation would cause temperature extremes. Places that were once temperate would freeze or bake. The food chain would collapse as crops failed and marine ecosystems died off. Without our magnetic field, increased radiation would make the surface increasingly uninhabitable. Within months, Earth would transform from a blue paradise into a dead, hostile world. Scientists have actually studied theoretical scenarios like this, not because we think it could happen, but because it helps us understand planetary formation and stability. What we've learned is sobering. Earth's structure is more delicate than we realize. Every layer, from the crust to the inner core, depends on the layers around it. Remove or disrupt any major component, and the whole system begins to fail. Our planet is a finely tuned machine, and a hole through it would be like removing a critical gear while the machine is running at full speed. So what could possibly create such a hole? In reality, nothing in nature that we know of could do this. Not asteroids, not supervolcanoes, not even nuclear weapons have the power to punch clean through a planet. You'd need something on the scale of a rogue planet collision or a black hole passing through Earth. Both scenarios are so astronomically unlikely that you're more likely to win the lottery every day for a year straight. But that's exactly what makes this thought experiment so valuable. It shows us just how perfectly balanced and miraculously stable our planet really is. The truth is, we live on a thin shell of rock floating on an ocean of molten metal, spinning through the vacuum of space, protected by an invisible magnetic shield. When you put it that way, it's amazing we're here at all. A hole through Earth would end that miracle instantly. So the next time you look up at the stars or down at the ground beneath your feet, remember that you're standing on something far more precious and fragile than it appears. Our planet isn't just our home. It's a perfectly calibrated life support system, and we should treat it that way.